Dan, Bleacher Report had the top 25 moves of the offseason. Number one move was the Chiefs trading for the offensive tackle Orlando Brown Jr. The Browns have 4 of the top 25, including number 3, trading up to be able to draft Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. What do you think of that move by Andrew Berry?
I loved the move. I loved the thought process behind the move. A little surprised to see it that high up on the list, but I did absolutely love the idea of identifying a player that they might have even taken at 26 had the cornerbacks not been there. And so to use some of those draft assets and move up and get owusu-Koramoah, who I think they view as this next generation type linebacker, a guy that can fit that versatile scheme, do a bunch of different things, wear a weird number and make it hard for the quarterback to identify exactly what he's going to do on any given play. I really think that was a great move by the Browns to go up and do that. So not surprised at all to see that on the list, nor am I surprised at the Chiefs going out and getting a tackle being number 1 on the list. Their remade offensive line has to be one of the stories of the offseason.
The other thing, number 10 on that list, is the signing of Troy Hill. So again, top 25, Browns have 10, the signing of Troy Hill, and 3 trading up for JOK.
Troy Hill has sort of become the forgotten man in everything that's happened since free agency. John Johnson, of course, gets the headlines. He was the big free agent signing. Greg Newsome was the first-round pick. We just talked about owusu-Koramoah and how the Browns might view him, but Troy Hill is a really important piece as the guy that's going to play the slot. But even more important, Denzel Ward, who has missed 4 games every single season. Greg Newsome, who dealt with injuries at Northwestern. Greedy Williams, who's coming off of a nerve injury. They're going to need a guy like Troy Hill who can slide outside and play on the outside in certain situations when they need him to do that. So Troy Hill really may be a forgotten man, I think, since free agency, but he can intercept the football, and he took 2 to the house last year.
So we have trading up for JOK 3, signing of Troy Hill, number 10. Number 11, the signing of the aforementioned John Johnson. This is Bleacher Report's top 25 moves of the offseason.
So I would probably put Johnson ahead of Hill, even make that just because of the significance of it. Maybe higher up than any of the other moves on the list. But again, just adding that dynamic playmaker in the back end of the defense. We saw how much the safety position struggled last year. Even as Carl Joseph started to play a little bit better, it still just wasn't good enough. So to go out, get maybe the top safety on the market, steal him from the top defense in the NFL, a team that you never know. If you get to LA in February, you might have to compete against them. So to bring him in, it changes the culture here because he's a leader on that back end of the defense. He's going to be a little bit like what Jarvis Landry was when he first got here to Cleveland on the offensive side. So this should be on the list. I would actually probably put it higher up on the list. I feel like maybe there's a little recency bias on this list, maybe.
And this one's a little bit of a surprise. So the fourth one of the Browns moves in the top 25, and I mentioned they had 4. This one's the other side of the ball. They have the re-signing of Rashard Higgins as the 24th best move of the offseason in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. And it's nothing against Rashard Higgins. It's nothing against bringing him back. I think it was the smart thing to do and the right thing to do. I just still am not 100% sure what his role is going to be. And I know that's a little strange because he had such a great year last year, but he really had to wait his turn last year. The Browns were kind of only playing him in garbage time and leaving him inactive early in the season until he was sort of forced on the field and showing them what to do. I don't know if these coaches are going to start to fall in love again with some of the traits guys on this roster, like a Donovan Peoples-Jones or even a Kadero Hodge, who was going to be the number 3 receiver last year out of camp. I like bringing back Higgins. I think you had to bring him back. Of course, he's a fan favorite. Fans absolutely love it. I don't know if he necessarily belongs on this list, but, Browns fans aren't going to complain about having him back in the orange or brown this year.
Well, and again, so the Browns have the 3rd, 10th, 11th, and 24th best moves in the offseason. The roster upgrade is pretty significant as evidenced by that. And I think when you look at this roster on paper, it's pretty darn good.
It really is. And the thing about all those moves is they made sense. Bringing in John Johnson made sense. We talked about the trade up for owusu-Koramoah. Shoring up your slot corner position, bringing back one of your most productive receivers from a year ago. All of these moves made sense. These weren't just big splashes for the sake of big splashes. And it just speaks now when you look over this roster, it's really hard to kind of find the areas where you're kind of nitpicking, I guess, right? Do they need more depth here? If there's an injury here, what's going to happen? But it's really hard to find just the glaring holes on this roster.
When you look at the whole body of the upgrade, what do you think Andrew Berry did in terms of traits? What traits did he add to this defense in particular?
I think the word of this offseason was versatility. He wanted guys that could do a lot of different things. John Johnson is a safety, but he can also come up and play in the box and be a little bit of a linebacker. Owusu-koramoah can do everything. Troy Hill can play inside and he can play outside. Even some of the defensive linemen they brought in, Jadeveon Clowney, you can slide him to the inside if you want. Malik Jackson, you can play him on the edge if you want to do that. So I think versatility was really the name of the game this offseason for the Browns, to create a defense where it's going to be hard, not just game to game, but play to play, to identify what a guy's role is going to be.